All right. Hello and welcome back, guys. It's Liam Hydras and Keneally here. We've got a fantastic guest for you on this episode of the podcast. We're going to be talking with Tom, otherwise known as the legendary 117. And if you haven't heard of this guy, you're going to be really glad that you tuned into this episode of the podcast to catch what he's about, because this guy is an absolute legend, not just in the sense that his name is the legendary 117, but also he's a guy that's been bringing people together from the Halo community for the last 2 years. I'm super excited for you guys to get to know him a little bit more. He's a streamer, a content creator, he's an avid Halo fan, and a Halo collector as well, as you can kind of see in the background there. But we're going to go through, get to know Tom a little bit, and hopefully there'll be some insight into what it's like being a content creator. I mean, you just had streams recently where you're having over 100 people in there consistently, which was awesome. So it'd be good to talk about that. But take it away, Tom. Is there anything we missed there? Is there anything else you want the people to know?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Lifelong Halo fan. I've been playing since 2001. We've got one of the world's biggest Halo collections, with the crown jewels being life-size statues of Halo Reach's Noble team. There's only 2 complete sets in the world. We've got one, and the other set is with Microsoft HQ up in Redmond, Washington. And I actually met my wife through Halo as well. So you could say it's a pretty big deal here.
Yeah, wow. I can't wait to hear all about those stories. The first thing that I want to know, where do you keep the life-size Noble team? Like, that's going to be like a full room thing, doesn't it?
It's a full room thing, yeah. I won't say where exactly they are at the moment. We'll just say another location that we currently own, but they will soon be under the same roof. We've actually got a total of 9 life-size statues, so Noble Team's 5 of them. The Muckle here is the 6th, and then we've got 3 more of the, I guess, the United States version of the Halo 2 life-size statues, the Master Chief holding the 2 SMGs there, so they take up quite a bit of real estate. Yeah,
fair enough. But so that's the type of thing that like eventually you want to have in like your house, like you've got like a spare or a garage for it?
Yeah, we're actually house hunting right now. We're trying to find a house that's got either a garage or a basement that's going to be big enough to house the entirety of our Halo collection. And the goal is to try and go for something like what 343's got with their Halo Museum. We've got quite a bit of stuff, but it won't be quite to the same caliber that they've got it at, but we're going to try.
Yeah, awesome. Is there anything that you're missing from the collection that you...
Oh, man. We're missing a ton of stuff. I mean, everything from just little pre-order cards and stuff that were from like Target and Walmart and other places you could pre-order games, to some of the bigger pieces like the Sideshow 1-to-1 bus. There's a red one and a blue one. They only made like 250 of each one. Anytime they come up, they sell for like $2,000. So it's like, you're not on that, like the second it hits online, somebody else is going to get you to it. So yeah, we're missing a whole bunch of stuff, but that's part of the fun of being a collector. You know, it's that thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, is there one thing that you're constantly on the hunt for? Like, is there one thing that you need for the collection?
Probably those 2 busts, the red bust and the blue bust. Those have been eluding me ever since I really started collecting better part of 10 some years ago. Just had plenty of opportunities, but either when it comes up, either somebody snatches it before I have the chance, or just can't justify spending that kind of money on pieces. So yeah, those would probably have to be the 2.
Yeah, awesome, man. And so you got the crown jewels is the life-size one. What's next in line? 'Cause I've heard that before. What's like another favorite piece of yours?
Another favorite piece, it would have to be the very first life-size statue I got, which was the United States life-size Halo 2 statue, and been looking for one for years. Finally found one on Craigslist and was talking to the guy and found out that it was actually located like 2 doors down from where my mom was staying at the time.
Oh, wow.
It was in Denver, Colorado. She was visiting a friend, and I called her up and was like, run next door, front me $600, please, because if you don't, this guy's going to put it out in his garage sale. He's going to open up in like an hour. And she was all thrilled about it, because she loves being a part of all this gaming stuff with me. So she scrambled down there, she picked it up, and she ended up canceling her flight. She picked up a U-Haul and drove that thing back home. Oh. So really nostalgic, and have got some family ties with that piece. So if anything were to ever happen, that'll probably be the very last piece that'll go, because I can't bring myself to do anything else with it.
Yeah. So that's the legendary, the Mama legendary 117 coming through on there. Oh man, that's absolutely awesome. So take me through gaming for yourself. How old are you at the moment?
I'm 32, just turned 32.
Awesome, man. I love that. And so how long have you been gaming? Were you like growing up playing video games?
Yeah, just far back as I can remember, going all the way back to when I was a toddler and I was playing video games.
Yeah. What was it back then? What were the games you were playing?
A lot of the time I grew up as a Nintendo kid, and I played some other stuff here and there. little bit on Atari, a little bit with Sega, spent some time on the Dreamcast, but it was mostly Nintendo. And it didn't actually switch over until Xbox came out with Halo, and it was a decent mix between Nintendo 64, GameCube, and Xbox. But then as we got closer to Halo 2, it almost became exclusively Xbox.
And so what was Nintendo? Was it mainly like Mario stuff, like Mario 64? Was it like Yoshi's Island, or was it, other games?
Yoshi's Island, the Mario Brothers, Nintendo 64, love that system. That's where I really started to get into like multiplayer and playing with friends in the whole LAN parties and tournaments and things like that. GoldenEye, Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, just anything that was multiplayer based that I could kind of justify either having people over to play games with or host a tournament for.
Yeah, awesome, man. So you started like kind of hosting tournaments and stuff as well, or was it just like getting friends over for a LAN?
It was a mixture of both. Growing up playing video games, I always liked to, we were always talking about games, and we always talked about, it'd be cool to go to tournaments and conventions and things like that. And it was always talk, but when it actually came time to actually try and do something, nobody really wanted to put in the work. As gamers, we talk about that sort of stuff and we want to attend things, but then when you realize how much work actually goes into an event, it's like, maybe not. I've always prided myself on putting in the blood, sweat, and tears to host those events. So like starting with the Nintendo 64, I'd use my allowance money to pick up booster packs of Pokemon cards, which then I would go and use for prizes for Super Smash Brothers tournaments, Super Smash Brothers and Pokemon Stadium. And then that eventually evolved into Halo on Xbox, where it started becoming games, a little bit of cash here and there, and just kind of went on from there. They just kind of grew up, and as Xbox Live became a bigger part of the multiplayer scene, so did the LANs and the tournaments.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And so how old were you when you started kind of putting together those LANs and those tournaments?
9 or 10 years old, and I had to fight tooth and nail for it because my parents were, at the time when I was a kid, are the stereotypical, you can't play video games, they're going to rot your brain, you're never going to get anywhere in life with it, until I finally convinced them to let me prove it to you. And I hosted a Super Smash Brothers tournament at a youth center. It was on a military base because we were stationed in South Korea at the time, and it was the only real place where we could actually have space, and a whole bunch of kids over wouldn't be that big of a deal. Had a booster box of Pokemon cards. It was 36 packs that we split up between the top 5 placements, and my parents were just like, huh? Like, he seriously organized all this and all these kids came just to play in this tournament? Yeah. So at that point on, they kind of just backed off a little bit, and they still had some skepticism, but it'll eventually go away as I continue to kind of prove them wrong and show that this was a legitimate thing, and it was going to go places.
Okay, so wait, so did you grew up in South Korea?
No, my dad was actually Air Force. He's retired Air Force, and we were stationed in South Korea, Osan Air Force Base from 2000 to 2002. It's the only time I was actually lived outside of the United States. So that's where a lot of my gaming roots with tournaments and LANs and stuff really, really started and flourished from there.
Yeah. What was it like being in South Korea for those years?
Man, it out of all of the bases that we lived at, and we were moving around like every year or two, South Korea was the best. Best 2 years of my life. It was a blast growing up there. Met a lot of friends. Took Taekwondo for 2 years, and my Taekwondo master was actually Master Moon, and he's actually the same guy who actually taught Chuck Norris back in the day.
No way.
Like 90 some years old now, and he's still teaching the same stuff to this day. So that was pretty cool to be under his instruction and actually get my black belt just days before we ended up coming back to the States. Man,
that's an awesome story. And so, okay, what other bases did you live at? Because it sounds like that. I mean, that's one hell of a life to have, going from Air Force Base to Air Force Base. Learning from the same guy that instructed Chuck Norris, getting a black belt in Taekwondo, organizing LANs when you're like 10 years old, man. What other bases did you live at?
Last station was Offutt Air Force Base in Bellevue, Nebraska here. Before that, it was Osan from 2000 to 2002. And then from there, memory serves me right, I think we were at Andrews Air Force Base in Virginia. And then was it Goodfellow? I think it was in San Angelo, Texas. And anything before that, I can't remember. It's too far back.
Yeah. And so how did schooling work? Were you homeschooled or did you move schools every time as well?
It moved schools every single time. I had a little bit of homeschooling here and there, but for the most part, it was just moving schools.
Yeah. How did you find that? Was it difficult to make new friends at each school?
Oh, yeah. It was really, really difficult. That social anxiety sort of thing. I think a lot of people kind of know where I'm coming from, because I feel like that's kind of almost the norm these days. And this was back, before we had social media. So it's not like you could hit somebody up on Facebook or MySpace or whatever. It was just, you give them a call at one point in time. Maybe they remember you, but it was pretty hard to overcome that, especially hosting tournaments and LANs. But I think hosting those events really kind of helped get rid of that fear and that anxiety.
Yeah. And so do you think that playing computer games was a pretty easy way, or was that how you kind of made friends at joining each new school, was finding other people that had similar interests? Or
yeah, and until it was a mix of video games and like Pokemon and like Dragon Ball Z and like anime and stuff that was just starting to be introduced to the United States. Going all the way back to like Goodfellow down in Texas, that was always kind of the go-to thing. It's like when you saw a kid with Pokemon cards or something like that, it's like you already got something you can talk about, and you know what you're talking about. It just kind of becomes a bonding point at that point, and see where it goes. Yeah,
for sure. Actually, speaking of Pokemon cards, I just got this in the mail from one of my girlfriend's friends. My girlfriend's not a gamer at all. Actually, I've been getting her to play Overcooked recently. I don't know if you've heard of that game.
Yes, love Overcooked. Such a great game.
Heaps of fun, and trying to get her just involved in the gaming side of things, because obviously I do all this stuff for Divine Mind, but then I play as Hydrisney and do all of my content creation as well. And we were at a little gathering a few weeks ago, and one of her friends said that she does marketing for a company, and Pokemon is one of their clients. So Pokemon are always sending them cards and T-shirts, and
that's cool.
And she's got no interest in it, and I was like, excuse me, send it this way. So,
hook me up.
Got so much nostalgia with Pokemon. So and I think I was growing up kind of very similar. I found it really difficult to make friends when I went from high school, from primary school to high school, and I had to change schools. And literally, I think the majority of the friends that I made my entire life were from either sport, like swimming, or Pokemon and computer games. And I think that's such a wonderful thing to be able to do. But even back then, it was more that nerds played computer games, and kind of you had two kind of you're trying not, well, for me anyway, I was trying to be one of the cool kids, but also didn't want like everyone to know that I was playing as much computer games as I was, that kind of whole thing. But in the end, here we are. I'm almost 30 now as well, and I'm trying to make a career in gaming. So it's funny how that kind of does a full loop across life. But all right, so run me through, how old were you when you finally got to a place that was, okay, this is where we're kind of staying now? Was it because your dad retired from the Air Force, or?
Yeah, we were here for about a year, and he got orders that were going to require him to go back overseas, and I think it was Okinawa, Japan. But we had literally just settled in here, and I wasn't too thrilled about going back overseas and basically being at 3 different high schools over my, the 4 years you're supposed to be in high school. And none of us were really thrilled about it, and was like, well, the family could stay here, but then he could go serve for another year, and he wasn't thrilled about that as either. So he decided he was just going to go ahead and retire. And we just kind of ended up sticking around here. It's not too big, it's not too small, and ended up really falling in love with this place.
Yeah. So whereabouts are you now? What state?
We're still in Nebraska. We're in the Omaha area.
Oh, okay, cool, awesome. I haven't had the chance to go there yet, man. Like when I came over from Australia, I had big plans to go and do full tours of America and go to all the lands and all that type of thing. But COVID obviously made that a little bit more tough. So okay. So how old were you when that happened?
That was 2003. So freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
Teenager.
Yeah. When you finished high school and everything, did you go on and do stuff at university as well?
I went the traditional college route. I went to a little school out in the middle of nowhere called Wayne State College. Didn't do so hot my freshman year, kind of flunked out. ended up coming back home and started working my tail off. And I actually started up my business as well, hosting LANs and tournaments. So I would work all week, and then Friday night was the prep and everything for the tournament or the whatever the event was. Saturday would usually be 18 hours of running the event. Sunday was shut down and clean up, get a little bit of rest, and then do it all over again the next week.
Wow, that's awesome. So is that still what you do now?
It used to be. I won't go on the whole spiel, but it kind of took a turn for the worst, I guess, when the Xbox One came out, because it requires that everybody have an Xbox Live gamer tag, and everything that we did was, it was LAN. You didn't need internet for anything. You could set up, whatever tag that you wanted, and you were good to go.
Yeah.
Since that happened, we had a few tournaments. We had League of Legends, Super Smash Brothers. We had a couple of big ones, actually. One of the world's best players, Mewtwo King, actually came out here to Nebraska, of all places, and competed twice.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. But Xbox, for the most part, unless we're rolling old school original Xboxes and 360s, we don't do too much anymore, just because it is so hard and difficult to get enough internet bandwidth to basically have 16 plus consoles that are able to run on tournaments, let alone anybody else who brings their own setup and just kind of wants to kick it and play games. So,
yeah, I feel you on that, man. I've only done the online tournaments with Divine Mind, and even that, man, was tough. And it was just me sitting behind a computer messaging like all these people. So I can't imagine what it'd been like for you in real life, with people running around everywhere trying to get things things trying to get sorted, and also just the making sure that you have the right amount of stuff, so that there's games actually going on at the right times and everything as well. So what's the biggest event that you think you've held?
Biggest event, without a doubt, was called Camp Nerdtron. We were actually co-hosting that with another local group, but our venue was where everything was at. 700 plus people showed up.
Wow.
I think the total setups that we had in terms of like gaming rigs, consoles, handhelds, and PCs was just a hair over 300.
Wow.
We had Halo tournaments, League of Legends, StarCraft. I think there was a couple of Pokemon tournaments.
Awesome.
And we had a cosplay contest as well. So, I mean, it was just it was almost like a mini convention almost. It had no idea we were going to get that many people out there. And it ended up breaking our building, actually. The plumbing for the downstairs level actually completely crapped out, pun intended. So we had to move everything upstairs, and it was just, it was fun. We had some issues, but that's kind of what makes the events more memorable. And it was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And so, okay, that's what are you doing now? You're not doing that anymore. You're doing something else?
No, I'm currently working full time in finance for a local defense contracting business, and then I'm still going to school full time, still working on my college degree, chipping away at that. So that's, it's taken a little while, but paying for it out of pocket is a lot better than being in crippling debt from student loans.
Yeah.
So on the tail end of that, got a few months away before 100% complete with that. And awesome. Then streaming about 20 hours a week, working on social media, trying to be a positive influence on the Halo community, and just land somewhere in the video game industry, whether it's marketing or getting into esports. I would love to start hosting events again, especially on the scale that some of these tournaments are with Halo, Apex, and Fortnite. We'll just have to wait and see. We're going to keep grinding until an opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, awesome, man. What's just quickly, and then I'll move more towards the gaming stuff. What's your degree in?
Right now it's marketing. It started off as accounting, and then it shifted to entrepreneurship, to then business management. And then after all that, it was like, you know what? I'd love to get into marketing. Everything that I've studied up to this point is great, but I don't want to be doing accounting work my entire life. It's very mundane and kind of mind numbing. And it's like, if I have a great job, it won't be terrible, but I'd be much happier, in marketing somewhere.
Yeah, I get that. And I mean, that's going to be a really powerful degree having going into anything esports wise, because that's half of
absolutely
the esports world is marketing, advertising. So yeah, that sounds like it'll work out. Okay, so back to Halo. Halo 1, you were how old when Halo 1 came out?
So that was 2001. So what, 10, 11 years old, something like that?
Awesome, cool. And then Halo 2 and then Halo 3, were you just playing campaign? Were you online playing matchmaking the whole time?
Was pretty much matchmaking for the vast majority of it. I would go through campaign, and then once I was done with that, achievement hunting and working on armor unlocks specifically for like Halo 3 with those Vidmaster achievements. Went through those more times than I could count with all my Xbox Live buddies at the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, the vast majority of my time was definitely on matchmaking.
Yeah, awesome. So out of those three, Halo 1, 2, and 3, do you have a preference or a favorite?
They're all great, and I'm super nostalgic with all of them. But if I had to pick, I'd have to go with Halo 3. I'm actually asked that all the time on stream, like what my favorite multiplayer experience is, and it would have to be Halo 3 with the beta that we had in 2007, all the hype leading up to the game, and then literally the entire world was playing it on launch day. I would definitely have to go with Halo 3.
Yeah, awesome. And what were you mainly a social kid? Were you in ranked the whole time? Were you doing customs?
I was a bit more competitive back in the day, and I'm glad that I wasn't streaming back then, because I wouldn't not too proud of some of the stuff that would have came out of my mouth back then. But yeah, I was competitive and casual. The max rank that you could get on Halo 3 was a level 50, and then 5-star general was 5,000 XP, so 5,000 wins. Actually doubled that.
Wow.
My main account, I got 750s, 10,000 plus XP, and I was constantly just ripping and grinding through multiplayer whenever I had an opportunity.
Yeah, dude, that's hectic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Halo 3 was my first Halo, and in Australia, it was like this big thing that we actually weren't even sure if you could get a 50 in Australia, like me and my friends from school, because the connection's so bad.
Oh man, yeah.
And then my business partner for Divine Mind, Fred, actually is the first 50 that I ever met in real life, and he's Australian, and he was an absolute beast. He was playing with a whole heap of really competitive guys, and that's when I got into Halo, was Halo 3 with that exact experience. And
that's really cool.
I was terrible. You know when you hand someone a controller that doesn't play games and they can't seem to do the two sticks at the same time? It's kind of like, well, that was me. And
gotcha.
Yeah, I feel like I've come a long way since then. So what are your thoughts on between Halo 3 and then we had obviously like Reach, Halo 4 and Halo 5. What's your thoughts on like that journey and kind of making that transition from Bungie to 343? What do you think went right in that time?
I honestly think they did everything right. The biggest roadblock, I think the biggest mistake that they made was just leaving the Master Chief Collection the broken mess that it was from launch, because that was everybody knows that was pretty embarrassing. That was one of the worst game launches I think any of us had ever seen.
Yeah.
And I mean, when people talk about that, I mean, we're going all the way back to like E.T., that disastrous game they just buried out in the desert somewhere because it was just so god awful. Multiplayer was fantastic. The story was fantastic. The campaign missions for 4 and 5, I felt like could have been a little fledged out a little more. 4 felt like a bit of a chore, and 5, I just, the whole 3/4 of it being focused around Fireteam Osiris, which is a different thing I'm sure we can get into later. For the most part, they've done a pretty good job. I don't have any real complaints, and the people that do, it's like, you got to remember at the end of the day, Bungie was going to move on and do their own thing regardless. Like, we're still playing Halo today because of 343 Industries.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's a really good way to look at it, because I think someone that was mainly looking at it from the competitive side, I just kept looking at literally how hard it was for competitive players to enjoy the game. Because I mean, I was playing the game and enjoying it as a casual player, but then watching competitive players just struggle because they felt like it was super inconsistent, and the updates for like, I think we like, if we look back now, I especially cannot believe how much I loved Reach. And like, Reach was such a good game. And looking back at it, I think we kind of took Reach for granted, and we gave terrible feedback during that time. And then unfortunately, I think it flew like kind of went into the other games. And that's when we started having all of these debates about sprint and not sprint and classical movement and whatever. And realistically, I think we're at the point where like none of that matters. We just need a good game, and everybody else will adapt to whatever the movement is. Sprint, no sprint, advanced movement, no.
Exactly.
We just need a good game,
that's
playable, consistent. What are your thoughts on skill-based matchmaking as well?
I've kind of got mixed feelings about it. I really like the skill based matchmaking system, especially going back to like how they did things in Halo 3. And I'm not particularly a fan of how they work with seasons with the rank resets, but it totally makes sense. If you're on a god tiered level of skill with Halo, you need to be able to continue to prove that, time and time, not just, get there at one point in time and then never touch ranked again and be like, oh, well, I've got this rank. I don't need to prove anything.
Yeah.
So, I guess it just kind of depends on how competitive you are. I totally get it and totally understand. And, it's becoming more obvious comparing Halo 5 competitive to like the Master Chief Collection with that skill based in the Master Chief Collection. Having the ranks 1 through 50, it makes it almost impossible to find games in matchmaking compared to Halo 5, where you've got a couple of different you've got the bronze, silver, gold, diamond, and then what is it, onyx, and then champion. It's much easier to find games that way. Whereas if you've never played matchmaking between 1 and 50 for MCC, it's, as I'm sure it's impossible to find games. So it makes sense. So I don't think it'll be a thing moving forward. They'll probably keep the current model that they've got, and we'll just have to run with it.
Yeah, for sure. And what do you think about the skill-based matchmaking though involved in the social playlist, like with the MMR in the background? Do you think that's a good thing?
I guess it just depends on the player. It can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. I really don't care for it too much. If it's casual, I really don't care. I just want to have a good time. I want to play with friends and just play Halo for the sake of playing Halo. The stats are all secondary to me. It just, to me, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. Okay, so along that kind of journey through all those Halos, at what point did you start thinking, I'm going to make some content around this? Did you start with like a YouTube channel or something like that? Or how did it all start for you?
I just, wanted to start sharing my passion with people on a broader scale. Hosting LAN parties and tournaments was kind of that outlet for me. And ever since that stopped, it was like, what, I want to be able to do this because I drive my friends crazy with it all the time. So it's like, what, why not try streaming? I can be a bit of a goofball. I'm not the best player in the world, but I'd like to think I'm fairly entertaining to watch and at the very least try and distract people from everything else that's going on in the world. And, just kind of meet some new people and just share that passion. It's just kind of, why not start somewhere?
Yeah, for sure. I think I can say from my own personal experience being in your streams, you are super entertaining, but the big thing about your stream is just that feeling that when I'm in there watching your stream and in the chat, I feel like I'm a part of like I'm hanging out with mates, just playing some Halo. And I love that you have that feeling. We have some people like, if you know Ken or Diadac's Hand or Diadact.
Oh yeah.
Starting to kind of build a similar community, but it's just an overwhelming feeling in your chat and in your community. So, props to you too for doing that.
Thank you.
And so that when you decided to start, that was what, 2 years ago when you decided to start doing some content creation?
Yeah, roughly 2 years ago, starting on Mixer. Yeah.
On Mixer, okay. What was the journey like on Mixer, kind of growing? Do they have like a path to affiliate kind of thing like Twitch does, or how was the journey starting on Mixer?
Starting on Mixer, it was very, very hard and very discouraging. I'm sure a lot of streamers that are just starting off are realizing that when you're streaming for the first time and you don't really have any social media platforms to go off of, you're literally starting from square one. It's hard when the only people tuning into your stream or your stream are like your dog, your mom, your dad. Like you're not really talking to anybody. Just those viewer numbers being so low, almost non-existent for so long, it can be really discouraging. But you keep pushing, you post whatever you can, you clip whatever you can and share it on various places. And then slowly but surely it just kind of builds up. You just gotta, keep it in your mind that if it's something that you want to do and it's a goal, you keep grinding to it and trust that it'll happen in time.
Yeah, well, I love that attitude. And that's something that I preach to all of the younger guys in Divine Mind as well, is just to have that kind of understanding that when you say, like I use my story as an example, right? I made my YouTube channel when I was posting Halo 3 and Halo Reach content back in 2009, I think the first video I posted, right? I posted consistently for a year. And then I had friends and family around me be like, Liam, you're wasting so much time going like, do real life. And I listened to them. For me, good decision. I had some really great life experiences, put myself in a position to do what I'm doing now financially, and have some really good business experience because of it. But at the same time, here I am 10 years later, plus 11 years later, 12 years later, wanting to do the same thing again. And so I say to the younger guys, you have to have an understanding that when you're saying, I want to be a streamer or a content creator, that is a goal that you're setting for like 5 years. If it happens faster than that, then that's awesome. And it's probably well-deserved. You probably worked really hard to get that, right? But it's not the type of thing where it's going to be like, okay, I'm going to create content now, and then in a few months there's going to be money coming in, and then there's a lot that happens between starting and getting to that point. So and you have essentially had to do it twice. So Mixer got to the point where they were closing down, and then you switched over to Twitch. What was that experience like?
Initially it was super, super frustrating because when that news broke, it was on Twitter. Like it came out of nowhere. And I still remember somebody had brought it up in chat and like, did you hear that Mixer's shutting down? I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what kind of nonsense is that? And it was just, I think that first week, once the news broke, like it was so disheartening for so many people that it was like, what am I going to do now? Especially a lot of the people that made partner status, just because it's so hard to get to that point. And it was like, we're going to have to start from square one. And it's really unfortunate it happened the way that it did, especially since there are a bunch of streamers that I used to support on Mixer that no longer have a social media presence at all. Like they became so discouraged that they completely just gave up on everything. And I don't know where they are, and I hope they're all doing well. But yeah, it was pretty frustrating.
Yeah, I can imagine. So then you decided on Twitch. At that point, there was kind of Facebook gaming, there was Twitch, there's YouTube as well. Why'd you make the decision to go to Twitch?
Twitch has been an established platform for quite some time, and looking to see what they had to offer. The just getting that subscribe button was basically the first goal that I wanted to get on Mixer. And being able to earn the affiliate status on Twitch, which means you get that subscribe button within the first week of streaming exclusively on Twitch, was incredibly rewarding, because back on Mixer, there was no like stepping stone. Twitch, you can get to the affiliate program, and then there's the partner program. So there's at least one step there. Mixer, it was like, no, you had to get at least 2,000 followers before you had the chance to apply for the partnership program, which would get you the subscribe button, but there was no guarantee, because then they'd have to look at your account, they have to look at your content, how much you engage with your community and whatnot. Wow. So the fact that I was on that platform for over a year, still hadn't achieved that, and it shut down, only to come over to Twitch and basically achieve that in less than a week, was like, I wish I would have realized this a lot sooner.
Yeah. And so when you were streaming on Mixer towards the end, how many what viewership did you have? How many followers did you have? How many people were watching each stream, that type of thing?
I think if memory serves me right, I was sitting in like the 30s and 40s for viewership. Follower count was 1,786, 87, something like that, when it finally shut down. But I spent a lot of time on Mixer just trying to reach out to as many people as I could. All the tags that I recognized, and was like, where are you going? Let's continue to support one another. This sucks, but don't be discouraged. We're all starting from square one. We'll get through this. It's not the end of the world. Yeah. So it was almost scrambling to network as best as you could before, you had to basically go and search the internet for these people again.
Yeah, definitely. And so then you signed into Twitch to do your first stream on Twitch. How many people are in their first stream on Twitch?
I think I broke double digits. I think that first week, I think I was sitting in the teens, somewhere in there, pretty regularly. And with half of those people being my best friends and my wife, just to kind of help get the viewer numbers up a little bit. Yeah. But everybody slowly started to trickle in. I mean, even last week when we were doing all of our big giveaways, I actually had a couple of people that I had not seen since the Mixer days that finally found the channel. And it was kind of like a big reunion. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. Because, man, that must have been such a hit in one way that you lost half your viewership from having to change platforms. But here we are now, pretty much a year or so?
Roughly, 9 months, something like that.
9 months past that change, and last week you were over 100 viewers during your birthday streams and the giveaway streams, which is awesome. So it goes to show that if you've got that mentality like of working hard and being in it for the long haul and putting in the right effort, it can really make a difference. So that's really awesome, man. How did you feel like the birthday streams went and the giveaways went? Were you happy with how it all unfolded?
Yeah, it went really well. The viewer numbers were through the roof, higher than what I expected, especially on the last day, which was kind of to be expected. Just I didn't think that we were going to be sitting in like the 130s and 140s.
Wow.
Just for anybody who doesn't know, we raffled off a digital copy of Halo Infinite at the end of stream last Friday. We had a whole bunch of stuff that we were giving away, but that was like the cream of the crop for the prize. And yeah, I was really hoping that all the new followers that I was going to pick up from that week were going to help kind of boost up the average this week moving forward. And that's exactly what's happening. I was sitting in the 40s and 50s, and now I'm kind of averaging 60s, pushing 70 now.
Yeah.
So it was a great opportunity to meet a whole bunch of new people from the community and just find some new Halo fans to bring in and entertain and play with.
Dude, that's so awesome. And that means you're even closer to partner now.
Mm-hmm.
So is that the current goal, is to try to head towards that?
I guess you could call it a goal. If it ends up happening, fantastic, but it's not, the end all be all. I enjoy sharing my passion for Halo and video games with others. If I can get the status, that's great, but go above and beyond. The ultimate goal is to be somewhere in the gaming industry doing more, for the esports community, just people in general. I would love to start hosting these things on a larger scale. So yeah. We'll just have to wait and see what the future holds.
Awesome, man. But I love your attitude, and I love the way that you're doing it, because
thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's been inspirational. It's been the way that Fred and I wanted to work Divine Mind, and then we found a few people like yourself in the time that we've been looking at content creators and talking to people that have just been like, hey, look, that's a good example of it, that it works. So yeah, awesome. Okay, I need to hear now. I need to know the story of you and your missus. How'd you guys meet? I need give me like, I just want you to give me it all.
So this was back before we met through Halo Reach, and this was back in 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
I always say 2014, but she always corrects me because it was, I'm pretty sure 2012. In any case, yeah. She was running a big Facebook group called the Chicks Who Play Halo, and this was back before all the Facebook algorithms basically killed most of the Facebook groups. So she was hosting these game nights like 3-4 times a week, full game lobbies, just interacting, very much what I'm doing now on Twitch. And I just joined up one night, and we continued playing, and the game night ended, and it slowly started to dwindle down, and it was like the middle of the night, and it just ended up being the two of us, and we just continued to play and talk and just had a good time and just kind of hit it off from there. We ended up playing like every night from that point on, and then eventually got to a point where I asked her out, and the first year of our relationship was long distance. It was about 1,000 miles between the two of us.
Wow.
Only saw each other 4 times in person. Very very emotional, very difficult. And then after that first year, we finally decided to close the distance. She packed up everything, she moved up here with me, and then we finally tied the knot at Disney World on Friday, December 13th, 2019. So it ended up being the perfect day.
Yeah, man, what a story. I love hearing that. So you guys met through playing Halo Reach on a games night. You guys start chatting, and then you ask her out. When you asked her out, did you know how far away she was?
I had an idea. I didn't realize it was going to be that far.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it was, and it's really hard to explain. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it's like I knew that first night when talking to her, with as well as things went, that she was the one. Like I just knew it in my bones that it was going to work. It wasn't going to be easy, but she was without a doubt the one.
Yeah. So what was it like the first time that you guys met? Did you meet her at the airport, or
met her at the airport, and man, I was a nervous wreck. She thought it was the funniest thing in the world, but I was so nervous to finally see her. But that first embrace, that first hug, and that first kiss was like, oh my God, that still gives me goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah. And so what I to put me in the zone of that, you're kind of walking in things going through your head. You're like, is she going to have a Spartan helmet on, or is she going to like, like, is she, did you know what she looked like by this point? Like, had you guys been sending like pictures and stuff to talk to each other? Like,
yeah, we it was months after we actually first started playing. That first time we actually met, we were actually using Skype. We were actually talking on Skype on a regular basis, so we knew what both of us looked like. It just kind of hard to explain. It was just, you, even though you know what she looks like and you know what each other looks like, when you meet in person for that very first time, you're still nervous, because it's just like, what if this, what if that, what if this, and it wasn't too bad. Once you get past that first initial, hey, how's it going? And it's like, okay, this is real. This isn't a dream. It becomes smooth sailing from there.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that story. That's something that I'm going to use that as like the clickbait for this podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it's seriously, man, that's absolutely magical. And I've heard a few stories now of people that have been met through Halo. They've been playing. One guy was his mate's best man at his wedding, and they'd never met each other until the wedding. And
oh, wow.
I love stories like that, because, man, that's like friendships that you build online and through gaming. I think that it's almost easier. It's almost harder to build those friendships because you don't get that face-to-face interaction. But then it's easier because you're really getting someone that's like similar to you,
Exactly.
And so, oh, man, that's awesome. Okay, so then you guys are dating for that must be 6 years, and then you decide that you're going to propose, or when did you propose?
I think we were dating for roughly 5 years, I think it was, before I finally popped the question. I asked her to marry me in the closing seconds of 2018, and then she said yes in the opening seconds of 2019.
Wow.
So the timing on that was pretty great. I did that in front of friends and family, and when the ball dropped in New York City, we were all at my parents' house watching that happen, and just felt like that was kind of the perfect, personal little time to pop the big one. And
That's awesome, man. And I've seen some photos from, I don't know, was it actually at the wedding when you guys had the helmets in front of you and everything as well?
Yes. Since we met through Halo, we didn't want to have a full-fledged Halo wedding, and the missus had always wanted to be married, had always fantasized about being married at Disney World. So it was like, we got to have Halo involved in some way, shape, or form. So I was like, let's just take the helmets. The two helmets, they're the Halo 3 Legendary Edition helmets, the green one, and then I had one repainted pink that was actually a gift that I gave her within our first year of dating. And it was like, let's just take them down and we'll have some, super simple but elegant pictures taken. And they turned out better than I could have ever thought.
Oh, for sure, man. I was thinking about it as well, because when I mentioned it to my girlfriend, I was like, you should come and see these pictures because I think they're awesome. She was kind of like, oh, is this going to be like, like a real nerdy wedding? And when she saw them, she was like, oh, that's such a nice way to tribute the way that they've met and the way that their relationship built without it being like way over the top.
Yeah, like a super completely nerded out, full armor sets and everything. So
yeah. Like you see some of those, married at Macca's, or, like those type of the Pokemon proposals with the Pokeball. I mean, I'd probably do that, but
love seeing that stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Okay, cool. And then, so she's a big part of the stream. I've chatted. What is her name? Is Mandy?
Mandy, yes.
Mandy? Yeah, I've seen her and chatted with her in the stream as well. Does she do any content creation herself?
She used to, like I said, when she was running her Chicks Who Play Halo Facebook page, she used to do quite a bit. A lot of the same stuff that I'm doing. She'll create some content, and then she kind of used her platform to help out others with sharing their content, helping people get discovered, just sharing just awesome, wholesome Halo content, for the world to see. As of right now, not so much. She helps me out quite a bit with what I do with the Legendary 117 on Instagram, and she plays games and whatnot, but not too much in terms of content creation. She actually works in a medical office. So she exhausts herself just about every single day. So when she gets home, it's like she'll help me out a little bit, and then she just wants to kick back, play some games herself. So you can kind of understand how taxing that can be.
Oh, for sure. And I think as well, though, it's really important as content creators to make sure that we're still enjoying gaming. I know it sounds a bit silly, but being able to take that time to just be able to just play, and that's why, like I was mentioning, playing with Chloe, playing Overcooked is just such a good way for me to just remember that it is gaming that I like, and it's not just yeah, it's because sometimes we get, I think, a bit distracted by all of the, especially when you're really driven and you really want it. It can just be one of those things that you kind of obsess over a little bit. So for you in the future now, what's the kind of goal? Where are you working towards with the content creation?
I wouldn't say there's a goal necessarily per se. We're just kind of, it's been a great platform. Streaming on Twitch has been a lot of fun, and it's been a great way to continue networking with the Halo community and helping others grow. I want to see Halo be successful and pull the numbers that like Fortnite and League of Legends have just across the board. And I say this all the time on stream. I firmly believe that if Halo is going to survive the long run, we as a Halo community need to help each other out as much as we can, right? Like we all want to have the kind of numbers that like Ninja, Dr. Lupo, Trunks, Walshy, all these guys pull on a regular basis. But in order to do so, we have to help each other out, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't afford to stream 24/7. So when we're not streaming, let's toss our support behind others in hopes that they'll continue to do the same thing. So, that's kind of the goal, is just to help out as much as I can while sharing my passion. And we'll just see if an opportunity opens up at some point to where, if I can make a living from playing video games, that's awesome. I think everybody would love to do that at some point. But until then, it's we'll just wait and see what the future holds. Just take it one day at a time.
Yeah, I'm going to use this because it's the perfect segue into shouting out something that we just started doing with Divine Mind. And I'd love for you to be a part of it as well if you like the sound of it. We just started a thing called the Spotlight Initiative. And the whole purpose of that is we've got a number of streamers and content creators that are all new recruits with Divine Mind. And the quick sum up of that means anyone that wants to create content for any game, but it's mainly Halo at this point in time, can join as a new recruit. And we just give them advice. We work together to make sure that we're staying consistent. A bunch of the guys, if you want to step to level 2, there's 4 things you have to do every single week for 3 months. And if you hit it, you move up to level 2, you get more support, you unlock some more stuff, all the way up to level 4. Level 4 was when we actually look at signing you as a content creator and you get paid. Okay, so that's the general overview of that. But we started getting a lot of people that are coming in at that new recruit level that just lack the motivation, or they get stuck at that just before affiliate stage for a long time. So we brought in this Spotlight Initiative where anyone that wants to be a part of it can, but you need to stream at least twice a week on your own accord. And you need to make sure that you're supporting other people's content throughout the time. So visiting streams, chatting, all that type of stuff. If we can see that you're doing that, you go into a list where I randomly choose a name out of a hat, and they get put in the Spotlight Hour. So they get time. They get to choose a time slot of their, or whenever's going to work best for them to stream, and we all lock it in, right? So we all join. We're just going to showing hype in the chat, dropping follows if we're not already following them, and just doing our best to show them what it's like to have 20, 30 people in your stream chatting, just giving you that hype. And I thought, such a good way just to get everybody super motivated. If you get that one stream that's just like, boom, this is what it's like to feel, can kind of make you feel like, oh, this is what I'm working towards. Because if I could if this is what my stream I could feel like every day, that's what I want. And so we did our first one last night with Codex Gaming. He's only been streaming for 20 days. He's kind of hit just before that affiliate level. We got him to like an average of just under 20 viewers. He peaked at just over 20 viewers. Got him to the affiliate on the followers. And, the dude was just hyped, man. Like he ended up doing a handstand, to celebrate hitting affiliate on stream. And it was just one of those things where it kind of feels really good to be trying to bring that to the community. The next one's an Australian streamer on Wednesday. But, we'd love to have you a part of that as well if that's something that you could see yourself being interested in,
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually something I try to do is focus when I wrap up my stream, regardless of how many viewers we've got. I try to go and raid other fellow Halo content creators, whether I'm already following them or they're just completely random. Very, very rarely I'll go and host a big channel like Ubernick or iSpiteful or one of those guys that has got hundreds of thousands of followers, but it's always, like you had said, to go in and find somebody who's just starting off, might be discouraged because they don't have too many viewers. Then all of a sudden, somebody comes out of nowhere, raids them, and all of a sudden they're sitting in like the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and it's like new life, and it's like, oh my God, this feels amazing, and it's super, super exciting. So I'd love to be a part of that.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, I'll send you a link after this we've got a Discord channel for it. So feel free to jump in there, and people get hyped when they see your name. So even you just being a part of it is going to add like a whole new dimension to that type of thing. Because they're like, wow, this guy, he's a big deal.
Yes, we love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I love that, man. But so far we've got a really good understanding of, I guess, the journey and everything. We're all kind of looking for Halo Infinite now at the end of this year. In your opinion, what are some of the things that just have got to happen for Halo Infinite to be the success that, you know, we all want it to be and that it deserves to be?
To be successful, you know, I've got a bunch of different things I would love to see, but I think in terms of required / need, which is really, really strong. And without going into any details of it, the book that came out in October, The Shadows of Reach.
Yeah.
If you haven't read that book, highly suggest doing so. The events that happen in that book leading into Halo Infinite need to be in the game. Whether it's an extended cutscene before we jump into campaign, or it's the very first part of the campaign experience, needs to be in the game. Going back a little bit to Halo 5, this is just my opinion. You know, everybody's going to have their own. I think the reason why the Halo 5 campaign failed and just kind of flatlined as badly as it did is because 343 assumed everybody was going to know who Spartan Locke was leading into the campaign. We had the Nightfall TV show, and we had all this information about Spartan Locke outside of the Halo games, but the number of people in the community who actually read and pay attention to all the content outside of the games is very small compared to everybody else. So 343 can't assume that everybody is going to know what happened in the Shadows of Reach and then start off with the Halo Infinite campaign from there and just move on. Like, if that happens again, I feel like it's going to be a very, very similar route to what Halo 5 did. So hopefully they've got a way to tie in what happened in the book and the events between the end of Halo 5, Halo Wars 2, and the start of Infinite, because otherwise it's like, I think a lot of people are going to be really disappointed and kind of left scratching their heads like, what the hell's going on here? You know? So I think that's definitely a need / requirement.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And it's one of those things as well that this is going to be, because it's been, 5-6 years now since Halo 5, this is going to be so many people's first Halo game. You know, like, and so the campaign is generally where that love for Halo starts and where most people come into it. And then you kind of play through it and you go, okay, well, what's small multiplayer? And then you go into multiplayer. And these days it's even more likely for you to kind of start in multiplayer and fall back on campaign and firefight and all those types of things. But I think you're so right. If they don't have a storyline that is going to be just super easy from the sign in to clicking A, and then it's explained, this is the journey we're going on. And then you go on that journey, you know, the character development, everything through it is going to be super important as well. But so right, man. Because like for myself, I'm a Halo fan, but I came in at Halo 3, right? Then when I played through, like, I loved Reach's campaign and I loved a whole heap of stuff that they did with Reach. And then Halo 4, I was kind of like, I'm starting to get a little bit lost. And then Halo 5, I literally haven't even finished it because I just had no idea what was going on. And I didn't have any like emotional investment to it. And I didn't know who the new characters were. You know, so I think you're so right. From a multiplayer perspective, what are some needs from the multiplayer side of things?
It's not a need, it's more of a want. And I know it's a super unpopular opinion, at least that's what social media wants you to believe. I would really like to see a battle royale game type. I know it's very controversial, but the game type is immensely popular right now. You got to strike while the iron's hot. And honestly, if you're not a fan of the battle royale game type, that's fine. As you just said, you know, there's plenty of other things in Halo that you can go and visit. You're not being forced to play it. But like right off the bat, ODST's feet first into hell, like that's already the perfect start. You could replace the Storm with, you know, Covenant cruisers glassing the map, or you could have the Flood slowly taking over the map with Sentinels picking away at player health that are caught in the infection. You know, I would love to see it happen. I just hope that 343 actually gives it a try. And, you know, all the haters, that's fine. You can hate. That's just let the people that want to actually see it happen enjoy it, you know? So in terms of what I think it needs, and I think they already confirmed, was kind of that Halo Reach depth customization with, you know, from head to toe, like every aspect of your armor, the color, how you want to go about doing things, which again, I'm pretty sure they already confirmed is going to be a thing in Infinite. It's definitely going to on that need list.
Yeah. I think they nailed that. And I think the more customization you can get, I think, hang on, I want to go back to the Battle Royale, because everything you just said then, man, if that can happen, like even just hearing that gave me some goosebumps, you know, because it's like that's exactly, like, again, being some people's first Halo game. And I think that's a big thing that, like, old school fans have to realize is that, it's not going to be the people that are complaining about the game they're going to make the population. It's the new wave of players that are playing the Fortnites and playing the Warzones and stuff that are going to make a decision that they enjoy Halo more. Right?
Exactly.
That's a big way you got to shift your mind frame. Is everyone that's telling you, I want sprint, I don't want sprint, I want this or whatever, old school. And you're probably growing up, and a lot of people have moved on. Like a bunch of mates that I got into Halo with don't play Halo at all anymore, right? And I can't see them coming back to play Infinite. It's going to be the younger generation. But that battle royale idea, the last podcast I did with Sherzy One, he said the exact same thing. The ODST, you're dropping in, you can kind of move it around the map, you land. I love what you're saying. The Sentinels kind of picking people off if you're in there, causing damage in the storm, or the flood kind of coming in. Some awesome ideas. And so what do you see though? Let's say that they take a slight twist on the battle royale, because I had this dream the other night. This is a little bit weird, but I had this dream the other night that they had a constant battlefield, right? So it was like a constant battlefield that was updated by like every single hour, right? And players would go into the battlefield, load into the battlefield. Obviously, there's multiple servers for the battlefield, but it was reflected in one giant, you could kind of check in and see what the progression was at. And there was like slightly different factions that you could be a part of that you held down parts of the map. And so, people would be like in, say, faction 1, and you'd be kind of going through and progressing through this part of the map to take over a strong point on the map. And then it was just this constant progression of, some teams, everyone's kind of fighting each other. I don't know. I just thought there's so much that they can do with it that it's dangerous that if they just, nail the right things, even if it's as simple as just putting in a battle royale, it'll be an awesome way for it to go. But I agree with the customization side of things. Battle royale would be huge. How else do you see the battle royale working?
There's a bunch of different things that they could do. It's kind of hard to think of something that a previous game hasn't already done. I guess the bottom line is, as long as it still feels like Halo at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. I mean, you're obviously going to have to take inspiration from all the other games that have been successful. One of the things that I thought was cool, I don't know if you're familiar with Apex Legends at all.
Yeah.
The armor system, like when nobody starts off with any armor and it's all based on how much damage you inflict, it's the same thing. You could drop onto the map as like a UNSC Marine, and then you get up to the let's just say level 1, you actually have armor. Level 2 would be like ODST. Level 3 would be, your standard Spartan armor. And then the red armor would be like, there's only 1 or 2 per match. And it could be like Master Chief and Spartan Locke. Each one would have, different abilities, extra damage, extra speed or whatever. You could put in Linda, just all the other, established Spartans, just as kind of that go-to, like, this is what you want a gun for sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as it just feels like Halo at the end of the day, I think that's going to be the most important part of that.
Yeah, 100%. And I've got faith. The big thing that I think they need to nail with Infinite is transparency when the game comes out. This is what we intended, and like if something doesn't work, just please take ownership over it and say that didn't work. We're going to change it. Because in the past they've been really bad at just remaining silent on an issue, and people just want transparency. They just want people to say. They just want anyone to take ownership. Like at the moment, the Halo 5 servers are just all over the shop, and it's silence. But if someone could just say, "Hey, this Halo 5 servers are a little bit all over the shop because we're actually working on something to do with Halo Infinite," maybe a beta or something, and we had to tweak some things in the servers. If someone just said something like that in a tweet, everyone would be like, "Oh, fair enough, we can put up with it for a little bit." But the silence makes everyone go, "Why?
What's going on?" Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what's happening? But we'll head now to wrap up. I think we've gone through a lot. It's bad. We're reaching that hour mark as well, and I know you've got plenty of things to do. So the way that we kind of like to finish up is same questions that I ask everybody, and that's if you look at a dream vision for yourself as an individual, maybe even 5 years from now, what does that dream version of you look like? Are you someone that is, I know that you like running and weightlifting. Are you someone that's like nailing that side of your life more than what you are now? Have you got kids that are into Halo? What's that dream version of Tom Garrett look like?
Dream version, we're in a different place. The missus and I have got a couple of kids, and would love to just continue doing what I'm doing. If I could get to a point where I'm playing Halo on a daily basis and I'm able to pay the bills and then some from what I'm doing, while continuing to help out people within the Halo community. You talk about dream. I would love to get to a point where, like Ninja is, for instance, pulling in tens of thousands of people, but then on a daily basis, once we wrap up with stream, go in and continue to help out other content creators. Somebody who's just streaming Halo for the first time, like, doesn't expect anything, and then bam, here's a raid and here's 10,000 people bringing in all this love and support. And I would love to do that across the board. Halo is always going to be number one, but just the gaming industry in general, regardless of what game it is or what we may be playing at the time, whatever's popular, I want to help people be successful and share their passion. There's nothing to be ashamed of nowadays.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. I love that vision for you, man. And for anyone that's made it this far into the podcast, thank you for watching. You're going to be able to find the links to everything that Tom does in the description, whether you're listening to this on your favorite podcast stream or you're watching it on YouTube. Everything will be in the description. Go and check him out. Show him as much love as possible. There's a very, very high chance that he's going to return that love for you as well. So
absolutely.
So yeah, the links will all be in the description. The last kind of question that I ask every single person as well, is there someone in the community that you know or you support and you talk to regularly that you think would add value to the conversation that we should invite on as a podcast guest?
Being based, when I originally heard of you guys, I thought you were completely based out of Australia. And the first person that comes to mind that I've been talking to quite a bit, he's amazing, is Didax Hand. Really enjoy spending time with him, watching his content, playing games with him. He's a really great guy. And two other guys, a couple that have actually been supporting me almost since day one when I started streaming. They're based out of the UK. They go by Zog and Ulok. They literally just started streaming this week. It's something that they're starting to kind of test the waters with. They're working out the kinks and whatnot. I think they'd be a lot of fun to have to interview and kind of talk to as well. So definitely be sure to check them out.
Excellent. Well, I'll be in their DMs. I'll be checking them out. Ken's already got an interview on here because he was the first person in Divine Mind to step up from a new recruit to level 2. So he's already got his there. And I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more from him in the channel with that guy's attitude and his work ethic. So for sure, I'll get the ats of the other 2 guys from you as well, and I'll hit them up because it'd be good to chat with them, get an inside look on what it's like starting up and what being a part of your community has been like for them. So thank you so much for being a part of it. Before we finish up, is there anything else you wanted to add or talk about or any questions that you had for me?
I don't think so. Just if you've tuned in, I appreciate the time. And if you're streaming Halo or if you're in the Halo community, please be sure to take that time and support one another. We got to keep that Halo community hype going nice and strong. And if you see any of the fights or any of the nonsense, the negativity, just push it to the side. Don't fuel the fire. Let's focus on the positive things, and let's all just stay super hyped for Halo Infinite. It's going to be amazing.
It is going to be amazing, man, for sure. So like Tom said, thank you so much for everybody that was watching and being a part of the podcast. If there's any questions that I didn't ask, if you've got any feedback for the podcast, leave it in a comment below. I read through every single comment. I make sure that if there's anything I can do to improve the content for you guys so that it's more valuable and you enjoy it more, I will do it. So leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If you want to find Tom, like I said, the description, there's going to be a link for everything you possibly find him on there. If you're not already following up with Divine Minds, I'll have it underneath Tom, so you can jump in. You can be a part of that as well. And like he said, make sure that we're all supporting each other and being part of the Halo community, because it's the only way that Halo is going to thrive is if we help it thrive. So
absolutely.
Help it thrive to keep it alive. I think that kind of works as a little rhyme.
Yeah, it works. That's perfect.
Yeah, well, thanks again, guys. I'll see you guys in the next episode of the podcast. Have a fantastic day.
Thanks, guys.